Good evening, Tony Daccino. I am the founder of the USA Memory Championship and doing my Live with Tony on Monday evening. I wanted to do this at 5 o'clock, but on our network TV here, they announced that they were opening up for the COVID-19 vaccinations and jumped on the laptop. And after 3 hits, eventually got through and got through the technical difficulties and got myself lined up for one of the first people to get the COVID vaccine, 19 tomorrow, at the Orlando Convention Center. So excuse me for the delay. And then last week with the holidays and a little bit of craziness, had a bit of a back problem last week. And so sitting was a bit of a challenge for me. I got to do one broadcast, wanted to do Wednesday and Friday, and wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy Holiday. So forgive me for not getting out on that last week. But back is feeling better today. I got back out to my run this morning and back into my dumbbells, and so I'm doing a little bit better. But there was an article that I did get to read over the weekend, and found myself doing more reading in bed than I did in the past. But I read an article that was a combination of factual, concerning, and frustrating. And the article was it was 2 pages. So it was in the Orlando Sentinel, an extensive article on the longer-term mental impacts of what isolation and quarantining and loneliness is happening from the COVID-19. And I just keep talking about this in my Live with Tony broadcast because I'm taking a dissenting view on some of the things that people seem to be gravitating towards, which I think there are options and alternatives for. And in our Maximum Memory Mastery online course, we talk about some of the elements of what we could do for brain health and what those 6 elements of strong brain health are, one of which happens to be putting yourself through mental challenges in learning new skills and taking maybe on new YouTube or online courses, or in fact taking the online course of Maximum Memory Mastery and learning some of the skills and techniques that one could help improve their memory. And so the whole series of Live with Tony is about the broad capturing of things we can all do to maintain our brain health. Now, what was frustrating now, so there's the things we can do. We can take more control over things that we think may be out of our power and may be out of our control, and there are more things that we can grab onto and that we can do to prevent ourselves from sliding. And the first thing I think we all have to realize is there's so much uncertainty and there's so much unknown as we have gone through now almost a year of learning and hearing and conflicting different points of view, that's enough in itself to be a level of upset. And then, of course, the holidays have come between Thanksgiving and Christmas. All of my hospital friends that I've worked with over the last 14 years are telling me that not Halloween, the Thanksgiving holiday has caused an explosion of cases in their hospitals, and they're using up more floors. So how do we avoid falling into desperation? How do we avoid some of the concerns that they're talking about? And I'm reading about it all the time now, about concerns that we have over the longer-term mental health. And so I'm going to just give you a few, but I want to talk more importantly, why do we have to succumb to this? Let's just get some strength. Let's get together. Let's realize that we've got interactions with this, and there are things that we're all dealing with, that we're not isolated. We're not alone. And if we'd only be willing to go out and talk to other people and vent and share with them some of our own worries and concerns, we can help one another. So let's go. The Kaiser Foundation. 50% of adults are now having significant negative feelings and are building up stronger levels of worry and concern, anxiety, and stress. That should not be a surprise. With the brain craving completeness and having blanks that aren't giving us definitive timelines with definitive conclusions and endings, it's going to send our brains off into a synergy of anxiety and worry unless we are more in control over what inputs we're putting into our brain that can stop it, that can change the synergy of our own thinking process that we do in fact have control over. And this is so hard for people because of the news they're listening to, the conversations they're having, whatever they're reading, whatever their radio may be on and listening to, the music. And we have to realize that we control the inputs that go to our own brains. And that's a simple statement to make, but to execute and implement that, we control it. But we've got to be aware of what's coming into our brain and what's that doing to our thinking. So here comes the foundation that finds out that half the adults are in a problem. Here we are in Florida, right? Tourism has taken a bang. I mean, between Disney and Universal and SeaWorld, they're operating now at 35% capacity, which is still far below that which they're making profits at. And what we see is an increase of drug overdoses of 70% year to year. So there are things we can do that can take control over our own sleep, like exercising and eating and making our own mental challenges. Instead, we have a significant increase in drug overdoses, meaning people are dying of drug overdoses, self-imposed drug overdoses. 20% of the people now in Central Florida and throughout our state are now taking medications for depression and for the stress. So pharmaceuticals are probably loving it. They've got the vaccine coming out, but they're also dosing out medicines for people that are in high-level anxieties, depression, in a state of panic disorder. So we'll give them a whole lot of meds. And obviously isolation is really a key concern as we feel like we're alone. But now let's flip this. Let's look at our nutritional habits. And I keep reading these and it drives me nuts. We're reading more and more about people are going off their good nutritional habits and they're eating foods they shouldn't be eating. And I say, whoa, time out. Mentally, what is the nutritional value you're getting out of a bag of chips or eating things that we know are unhealthy for us in this period of isolation that makes us now take away good nutritional habits and habits we know we should follow and then just dissing them or throwing them overboard? Which then leads us right to reading an article about the number of people giving up their exercising habits because they can't get to a gym. Now, I'm not telling everybody to run out in the middle of the streets of traffic, but God, at least in Central Florida, there are plenty of ball fields and parks and trails. I'm sure in any city or wherever we are, there are parks and trails that people can run on and get out and exercise in the air, which we hear more and more is getting out in the air is much better than being confined. So even if you've been a gym member in the past, you can get out of a gym, go outside and run around the building 5 times, run up and down, walk up and down steps a dozen times. As I tell people, get a couple of bricks and put them in your house and just walk up and down the bricks. Just go up and down, anything to increase your aerobics. And then lift a half-gallon jug of water, or milk, or soda, whatever you've got, anything with 3 pounds of weight. Just do muscle, lifts with them, and go, in different ways. I mean, there's no reason why we can't be doing any type of exercise as a physical. And then, last but not least, mental challenges. And there's so much online, and we've offered now the Maximum Memory Mastery course during this period of time, and we say this is a great learning opportunity for people to see how to improve their memory. How do you do a better job of remembering the names of faces and practice with people you see on television? Put on a channel of actors and actresses on a show that you've never seen before and look at their face and match their name and their face and use that for practice drills. How do we remember and read paragraphs of information? So there's some lessons and teaching in there on key words and how you map things out and how you put them into your head so you encode them. So you've got stronger abilities to retain and recall information that you may want to study and learn a new subject or a new topic of of learning and skill that you want to build for your professional career or for your future. So looking at this more with the future, there are skills and fundamentals in that online course that offer you a great opportunity during a wonderful period of time, if we look at it in the right sense, to expand your own personal skills. And that's what the frustrating part is, because it does demand that we take more responsibility for our own actions and thinking, but it also suggests that there are recommendations, suggestions, and improvements that we can make in our diet, in our exercise routines, in our mental challenges, that that help us build stronger brains. And the thing that's really important about this is, as you're building on those things, they help to deflect and defer on the isolation, the anxiety, and the depression that people are feeling on COVID. So what I guess is the most frustrating to me is, why not? Why not? Why are we not doing these things? Why are we not taking a stronger control over our own habits at a time when we have some time, and try to reduce some of our levels of anxiety, try to reduce some of the levels of stress that we have, and not fall into the 50% range of adults that are in worry and anxiety, or the 20% of folks that have to take meds when we can do things with our own nutritional habits, our own exercising habits that can prevent that. And of course, what about our hobbies? How many people have given up hobbies or their social interactions with people? And let's get back to a hobby. If we like to paint, or we like to draw, or we like to put puzzles together. And God, there are just so many things that we can do. I love doing crossword puzzles. So I've been hooked on crossword puzzles, and I get to do one every day. And some days I take a harder one, some days I take a couple of easy ones. But I do a lot of reading, so I enjoy reading. To me is a mix of hobby. I love reading as well as it is for my work, and so it's a combination. And so I like to take notes in terms of what I'm reading, and then share some of the key messages with my Live with Tony audience. We got the vaccine coming out, so hey, we got registered tonight. We're going out tomorrow morning, the first pocket of vaccines being given out in Orlando. But the longer this goes on, if we don't take more control over our own actions, the worse that each of us will be. And therefore, reaching out and asking people for help, and reaching out and finding new pathways of exploring learning, finding new ways of developing social connections, all things that we can do within our control that can help shortstop and gap the impacts that we might have from the longer-term health benefits of COVID quarantining and maintaining it. And the scary part is, the scary part of all this is suicides are up almost twice as much. And people are going out during the holidays, and they're probably taking risks that they shouldn't be taking because they're so pent up and wanting to go out and be sociable. And I'm saying we got options for that. The goal we all want to have is we all want to make sure we get to the other side of this, to when there are solutions, and the great men and women in the science and the healthcare world are figuring out the solutions. And we want everybody to be on that other end of the solution, so we all can look at it and just say, wow, what an experience, and look at how we've dealt with it and how we've gotten to the other side. This was supposed to be my 5 o'clock Live with Tony. I'll be back on Wednesday at 5 if all goes well. And I'll get back into a routine on this as we're coming into the new year. So plan a nice New Year's Eve with just some distancing and some things in your local area. And maybe you got to do some window stuff and figure out how to meet with people without getting too close, and maintaining your mask, and you're washing your hands, and all these things that we've learned in the past year that help us to minimize the impact of not being well and healthy as we go into the new year. Have a good evening, and again, please, anybody that wants to reach out and send me emails, I'd be more than happy to talk to people. I've got the time, but I've got the passion to want to make a difference. Until then, have a good week, and we'll see you on Wednesday.